Headlines of the week with Will Richmond, digital news editor at the Herald News. Welcome, Will. It's good to talk to you.
Hi, Donna. How are you doing?
I'm good. I know you're used to seeing Keith, but here you have me today. Now, the first story in everybody's minds is the Taunton Mall shootings and stabbings. Why don't you give us the details on your end of what your reporters learned?
Sure. It's been, a whirlwind of events related to this, and there still seems to be a lot of unanswered questions at this point, but it appears that Arthur DeRosa, the assailant in this situation, he received a phone call on Tuesday night while at his daughter's soccer practice in Taunton, and that seemed to have set him off. The content of that call or who it's from is not quite known at this time. He then went on the rampage, made his way into the Myrick Street home in Taunton, and then proceeded, after stabbing two women there, one of them fatally, moved on to the Taunton Mall, crashed his car into the Macy's there, and proceeded to assault another 5 people, including one person who was fatally stabbed inside the Bertucci's restaurant prior to DeRosa himself being fatally shot by an off-duty Plymouth County Sheriff's deputy.
It happened relatively quickly. You were at the news conference that I was at the Fall River District Courthouse with the district attorney talking about the suspect's mental state, and he was saying that, well, I don't know about you, Will. Do you think he was hedging a little bit about those issues?
Well, he certainly, I think the district attorney wanted to make it clear yesterday that at that point of the press conference, it had only been about 16 hours since the incident had occurred. The investigation was still fluid and ongoing, and they were still collecting information related to this situation. But I believe the district attorney was hedging out of an abundance of caution at this point because there just had not been enough time passed to make sure everything had been checked and reviewed, as of yesterday afternoon.
Well, the suspect, DeRosa, did go to Morton Hospital with suicidal thoughts. That was reported on Monday night, and he was, quote-unquote, evaluated and then released. That was a concern for a lot of people. The DA, I think personally he hedged a little bit on that as, oh, yeah, he was let go. Should he have been because of his past history? And he said he wasn't in the system, for the criminal system at least, for 6 years. And yes, it is an ongoing investigation, but there were still some questions that I believe were left unanswered. Like you said, it's still early on in the investigation, so people are still being interviewed as we speak. And I'm sure there will be more coming out. As you know, Will, you've covered these stories before. Very tragic. The man who was killed was a teacher, I understand, correct?
Yes, he was a teacher at the vocational technical school in New Bedford and a Taunton resident.
And I also know that this wasn't his first time being a hero, quote unquote. I read an article actually in the Herald News that he tackled some young person who stole somebody's cell phone in Providence. I believe that was a few months back, and got the cell phone back. And his wife was saying, yes, that's just the kind of guy he was. So again, a sad, tragic slew of events. Will Richmond and FRC Media News, of course, we'll have more details as they become available. So let's move on, Will, to the feisty City Council meeting on Tuesday. I know lots was going on that night. And the information came out, slowly through your paper, obviously, and social media. Why don't you just give us the little hot topics of that night?
Well, there was a lot of back and forth, especially related to the sanitation issues in the city, though not much was ultimately accomplished. It seems there are councilors who have their concerns about the numbers that Mayor Correa's administration has presented related to privatization. They're concerned about whether or not this is a savings for the city, especially considering the cost associated with the bonding remaining on the trucks that would be sold to the trash hauler easy disposal that has been selected by the city to handle privatization. So there just seems to be quite the debate between the administration, a group of city councilors, and kind of at a little bit of a standstill right now with all of this.
Well, there was a little feistiness, too, with Richard Cabaceres. He was really pushing for those numbers. I think some people got upset with that. True, false?
You mean upset with the idea of him pushing for the
Yeah, he
numbers,
was
or
pushing
that
for
he
the-
hadn't
yeah.
received them?
Both
I
actually.
I think there's the divisions going on right now. There are those who are in support of the administration and those who are not. So depends on which side you stand that you kind of your sort of concern falls on. But yeah, there are some people who think who find Richard and some council members maybe grandstanding. There are others who are questioning if the mayor's office is being as transparent as they possibly could be with this process.
Well, I believe that the mayor does believe he is being transparent, but again, it's a huge issue facing the city, and we'll just have to see what happens. Of course, budget negotiations for the school department and the city's budget is still in the works, so we'll have to just see what the future brings with that. And lastly, ABC Disposal in New Bedford, correct, is going into bankruptcy, or filing for bankruptcy, Chapter 11?
They are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The operators of ABC Disposal, however, are saying it will not have an effect on services, that this is just a matter of, getting their financial house in order. So, even as the use of private companies to pick up trash, even at the homes in Fall River, has increased since the rollout of the purple bags and pay-as-you-throw and the trash fee, users of ABC should continue to see their service continue at this point, at least according to the company.
Right, and so we're not sure yet if it will affect any of the business here in Fall River.
Right.
Yeah, so, but I did, again, read that this morning. Anything else, or what's coming up for next week?
This Sunday, we're going to be taking a look at the Flint neighborhood. They have actually taken their own steps to begin marketing the neighborhood and through the neighborhood association and the merchants out there in an effort to kind of put their own spotlight on what sometimes feels like a forgotten part of Fall River. So we'll be taking a look at the efforts of the Flint people this weekend.
Oh, very good, and they've been very active, so that will keep us updated on that for next week then.
All right.
Okay, and you'll get Keith back next week.